Pull item B off of the consent agenda, and if y'all will bear with me, we're going to do this as part of our invocation. As we celebrate Thanksgiving this week, I think it appropriate that we continue to remember the reason that this great nation was formed and by whose grace it continues to survive. Christians who formed our nation celebrated days of thanksgiving to God. The Jamestown and Plymouth colonists recognized that they were sustained only by God's providence and celebrated Thanksgiving feast. George Washington, John Adams, and James Madison, our first, second, and fourth presidents, respectfully, issued Thanksgiving proclamations calling the young nation to unite in expressions of gratitude to God. Each U.S. president since Abraham Lincoln in 1863 has issued a national Thanksgiving proclamation. In these days of an enemy from outside of this country as well as people from within who would attempt to remove all recognition of God from public life, we offer this proclamation as a reminder that the United States has always acknowledged our nation is dependent on God's grace and providence. I will now read the proclamation. Whereas our founding fathers recognized their dependence on God and the work of His hand in their lives and this nation, and whereas, again, we humbly acknowledge God and His protection and provision for us today across the nation in our community. And whereas, in the midst of all the chaotic events in our nation and around the world, we are reminded that security and liberty continue in our nation only because of God's loving care. And whereas we are able to wake each morning and exercise the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, to worship freely and openly, and to go through each day without fear for our lives. And whereas we are thankful for our countless blessings and bend our knees to ask Him to revive and uphold godliness in the lives of the men and women in our nation and our community. And whereas with freedom comes the responsibility for obedience to God and His commands. And we ask His forgiveness as we pursue peace, justice, righteousness, and His favor and praise. And His favor and praise God for His long-suffering kindness, mercy, and goodness. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Hanover County Board of Supervisors does hereby urge and encourage the citizens of Hanover County, Virginia, to include prayer in their Thanksgiving celebration. Members of the board, I make this motion that this be added to our program.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion